Let me talk about now why you as a consumer always having so many problems in regards to Consumer Rights Act and regards to problems regards to finance company. All right, well, you have to understand there's three parties involved. Used car seller, which technically acts in majority of situations as a credit broker regards to FCA rules, right? And finance company again acts as a third party which will provide a finance to you. So what happens legally, as there's three parties involved, right? So used car seller, so there's a contract between you as a used car as a consumer between finance company, because the finance issues the credit and pays to the used car seller, right? So that is bound by the Consumer Rights Act 2015, right? However, another commercial agreement is between finance company and a used car seller, which is not bound by Consumer Rights Act. It is bound by Sales of Goods Act 1979, I think. And what does it mean? So that means technically finance company have to have an inspection on this car before they issue a finance, right? But they don't, right? So that means Sales of Goods Act, right? That means the consumer rights doesn't apply. So there's no warranty, right? So that means it's clearly by, if there is a problem, let's say you as a consumer complain to the finance company, you have a problem. That's why it takes for them 2 months to respond back to you and speak with the seller. What a finance company does, they send an engineer out to check if the fault was present
at the time of the purchase.
If the fault is found
Present at the time of the purchase.
obviously seller have to rectify it, right? If the fault is not found
Present at the time of the purchase.
in 99% right of those inspections, there will be no fault found at the time of the purchase, because most of the faults you can't prove after the car is sold, right? You can only prove it before the purchase. So if that report comes back as fault is not found, or likelihood wasn't present at the time of the purchase, right? Technically, finance company can't force the used car seller to fix the car because of the different commercial contract between both of them, right? Between finance company and used car. So that's why you, as a victim, now are merged into this, or linked into this sort of dispute between two other people, right? Where they ignoring your consumer rights, right? So then now the finance company tries to move out from their responsibility, because what happens if the seller declines the repairs, right? Which they can easily do because it's got nothing to do if the car breaks down, right? It's to do with it's a finance company's problem now, nothing to do with the used car seller, right? So the finance company now have to pay for those repairs within those sort of first 6 months, right? So that's why you as a consumer are left in this awful limbo, right? Where I'm 100% certain most of these finance companies doesn't even understand the difference, right? Because what they are interested about initial complaint from you and to see
Was the fault present at the time of the purchase?
which, like I said, 9 of the 10 times, or 99% of responses, the fault wasn't at the time of the purchase, and they will try to say, oh, it's your responsibility to fix the car. No, It's finance company's responsibility to fix that car for you, right? On their own expense. That what happens because they are bound. Finance company's agreement between consumer are bound by the Consumer Rights Act. So the finance company is technically bound for those 6 months as a statutory rights to you, right? If the car goes wrong, right? Not everything, but let's say major powertrain issues, right? Durability issues, which makes car not of satisfactory quality suddenly anymore, right? Technically, the car should last those sort of 6 months without any major defect, right? As in a used car, there can be some issues like flat battery, right? Things, you know, you might need some tires because you haven't done a proper pre-purchase inspection, you know, they're perished or maybe pads getting low. You will have that, like worn discs, you know, brake discs, you know. So there always will be something. Maybe you haven't checked if it needs a service, and so you'll need to pay for the service. Maybe you haven't checked if it needs a timing belt. You might need to pay for the timing, but that will be your responsibility, right? There's nothing you can do because you haven't checked prior purchase, where you could use those items what I just mentioned as a negotiation tactic to reduce the price or make the seller to rectify prior purchase to reduce your short-term or long-term expenses, right? So I hope this helps. This is the predominant issue, not an issue, it's a common practice what happens in UK. And if you are in a limbo with finance company, remember, finance company has different agreement between used car seller, right? And anything while used car seller will tell the finance company to FO, right? Finance company will have to fix from their own money that car within that first 6 months. Engineer will go out 9 of the 10 times, or 99% of occasions, fault will not be found at the time of the fault didn't develop at the time of the purchase, right? That will be most likelihood of outcomes, right? Unless there is specific fault codes, and it can be, but that will be your 1% chance, right? Where the finance company would tell the seller to fix that car. So, regards to this is you have headaches and you have stress, right? So that's why you need to check this car before you buy, right? So, and you can use it as some sort of contract, added as evidence to the finance company, right? Or technically, I will do another video what used car sellers should be doing, right, to minimize this inconvenience. Or technically, that should be a law or finance company issue in finance. There have to be pre-purchase inspection carried out because they are driven by different contractual agreements legally, right? And if they don't check the car, they like I said, 99% of the occasions they can't prove the fault was present at the time of the purchase. And Sales of Goods Act is not a warranty, and seller don't have to do anything, even if the finance company tells them to do, even after they failed, the engineer report failed, right? And it will fail because there's only, like I said, only 1% of chance you can prove it. It's only on certain specific issues. Minor wear and tear issues, degradation, or dents or anything like that, there's nothing you can do. You should have seen it. You should have asked. It's a sensible. Consumer have to have reasonable understanding about used car based on the age and the mileage. The older the car, the more problems there will be technically on a car. Visual, so the maintenance, if you don't check, it will be your problems, you know. So don't confuse these situations, and that's why I emphasize in this. Most of the people doesn't do that, you know. Majority doesn't do that. that doesn't understand why there is a problem, and this is why there is problems, because Consumer Rights Act only works with between finance company, and it's nothing to do with used car seller. Hope it helps. Take care. Buy carefully.